There's no better personal development workshop in the planet than being an entrepreneur. You will confront every single doubt and fear that you ever had. And if you think that once you get good at it, that they're going to go away, new level, new devil.
It's time to reinvent.
Welcome to the Lessons of Entrepreneurship, the journey of reinvention. As always, I have a special guest for you here. I have Liz Wolfe, the business coach with over 25 years of experience. Liz, please tell us who you are and what your mission is.
My name is Liz Wolfe. I live in New York City, and I'm a coach for entrepreneurs that help entrepreneurs to get unstuck, which many express that they feel when they come to me, so that we can together help them launch or grow an abundant business. I typically work more with entrepreneurs who are a little newer or just starting a new project, something that they feel that they need some support in getting things going for themselves.
That's the perfect description of what our audience is about. New early entrepreneurs, people who are starting out, and obviously anything that gets people unstuck, we're here for.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for your time and agreeing to share your expertise, Liz. I'll start with this because we talked about the situation that a lot of people do feel stuck when they're starting out in business or launching something new. Perhaps you can give us an idea of the common reasons.
The typical reasons people do get stuck. I think there's a few. Number one is around feeling overwhelmed because you don't know. This is a common myth, which is there must be a right way to do this. And so what a coach will do is help you to figure out the right way for you. If they're a coach worth their salt, they'll help figure out the way that's best for you. It's very overwhelming at first because you don't know, what should I be doing? What is the best action I can be taking? That overwhelm. That's one thing. The second thing is feeling I don't know, am I good enough? Am I good enough at this? I never tried it before. There's a lot of imposter syndrome or silly little doubts that will come in, or even real people that will say to you, that's too hard. And I don't think that's a good idea. A lot of things undermining your confidence as you go into a new project, and then not having a clear strategy. What am I even trying to create here? What's my vision? What's my strategy? And how can I overcome these inside conversations, that scarcity thoughts that are stopping me from even taking any kind of risks?
You touched on so many things there. You talked about the myth of there must be a right way. And if you could tell us a little bit more about that, because I think that's the thing that when you're starting out, you're looking for direction. And like you said, you're looking for the right way or terms like best practice or that kind of thing. Maybe you can go more into that assumption that there is a right way.
Yeah, this is why the online course business is a multi-billion-dollar economy, because everybody is trying to tell you that their way is the right way. I have also spent thousands of dollars on courses that I bought because when I went to those webinars that they do, and then they make it sound like so simple and just follow these simple steps and then it'll get you there. What I want to say is that if you wanted to, you could find someone that has made millions on Instagram, millions on LinkedIn, millions through their email list, millions through evergreen webinars, millions through network marketing. There's an example of each one of those types of people that are out there. And how many books are there? There's so many ideas that are out there. I look for any of the value that's in any of them and see how it applies to me. My big failure story is I bought $1,000 YouTube ad course, and I thought, I'm going to do YouTube ads. I'd love to be on video. I got a great product. I'm going to do it. And when I got into it, it was so complicated. I was like, oh, no, I don't want to do any of that stuff. Of course, they didn't talk about how complicated it was. I'm not saying they were fraudulent or anything like that. I'm just saying I didn't understand what was involved. And so I always look to that particular example to say, that worked for that person. Turns out it didn't work for me. The best thing we want to do is figure out what resonates for me and what can I do.
It's interesting that you say that because Sometimes when you're starting out, because you don't know what will work for you, and it's something you've never done before, which is why you're seeking out information to say, okay, what should I do and how should I do it? I love that you say there isn't a right way. There's a right way for you because it depends on what stage you're in. You bought the YouTube course and it was way overhead. Sometimes in marketing, people don't always say, who is this for? This is for someone who has done this and this, or who's at this stage of a business. They just want to sell. The
Sure.
second thing you talked about, that self-doubt. How do you overcome that self-doubt? Sometimes your circle is telling you, this idea is not worth it. You've got a great job or got this great thing going for you. Why are you going to mess that up with this thing?
The system that I use in my coaching, it has 3 parts. The first part is to have a clear vision. If you don't know what your destination is and you get in your car, you don't just start driving. You need to know where your destination is. So many entrepreneurs, especially new entrepreneurs, don't ever take the time or understand or even haven't even thought, where am I going? Because so many of us are in survival mode. We're just trying to get the first client or get to the next day or get out from under this pile. So having a clear vision is the first part. And the second part, as I mentioned earlier, is about strategic actions, what I call purposeful action. What's the best thing for me to be working on today? Because there's 1,000 things. And I'll pause for 1 minute and say, and one of the criteria that I use for that is I ask myself, what's the fastest path to cash? What activities are going to generate some sort of revenue for me? Because posting on social, which there are people that are saying that's the right way, may not be the fastest path to cash. It could be directly calling people. Once you get into action, that is typically, there's 2 types of mindset. One is things that are keeping you from getting into action. But once you get into action, you are immediately going to feel a sense of inadequacy because you haven't done it yet. And you're out there trying and, you feel the rejection or the doubt or fear, or you call somebody up and how many times should I follow up with them? And am I bugging them? And all those types of conversations. So the third part of the system is to get rid of those underlying beliefs or those mindset issues. I call the hidden barriers. You will uncover them through your actions. There's no better personal development workshop in the planet than being an entrepreneur. You will confront every single doubt and fear that you ever had. And if you think that once you get good at it, that they're going to go away, new level, new devil. Let's say you've never gotten even a client. Oh my God, I got my first client. Now I have to manage the client. Oh no, they canceled on me. I don't know what to do. New level, new devils. We're constantly dealing with those. And then, as we already said, to make matters worse, sometimes people reinforce that for us. They'll tell people, don't call your friend Mary, right? Don't call your friend and talk to her about your business because she's not a coach and she's not an entrepreneur. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Just go out for a drink with her, but don't ask her for business advice because she's not going to know what to say. And she's going to speak from her own fear. And you're saying, how do I overcome this? One way is to get into action because you will have to work through those things in order to get to your next level. Now, I wish I could magically say, oh, and that's all you have to do. But again, that's where a coach will come in handy because a coach's job is to help you to make distinctions. One of the distinctions that we are making with each other and that I want you to make is what are my scarcity-based thoughts and what are my abundance-based thoughts? Oh, if I call this client back, it's too soon versus maybe they'll feel like that's good customer service that I followed up with them so quickly. So we're making that distinction between those 2 things. That's a good place to start.
I like that at the end of the day, action is what you have to do. You said you've got that phase where you're doing things that are preventing you from taking action. And then you're taking action, but you're filled with self-doubt. And even to get through that imposter syndrome, you've got to take action to get rid of that imposter syndrome. The topic of imposter syndrome is a really big one in entrepreneurship. He said that everything in your life is going to come up because of being an entrepreneur and needing to manage all those mindsets. I don't know what term you used. You said
The hidden barriers.
the hidden barriers. I like that you gave the example of managing. Is this an abundant thought? Is this a scarcity thought? How do you develop an abundant mindset?
These are the 3 myths that entrepreneurs believe are key to creating an abundant business. They think they're going to have to work really hard and be super disciplined. That's a thing. You got to be disciplined. Time management. That's a big thing. Another one is, who am I connected to? Do I know the right people? Do I have enough clients? Do I have enough people on my mailing list? And the third one is, am I a respected expert? Am I credible? The thing I want everybody, first of all, to know is that you don't need to be as good as you think you need to be. Seriously, there's always going to be somebody that's more experienced than you and some people that are less experienced than you. All of those things that I just mentioned, having the discipline and having the connections and relationships and feeling like you're confident in your credibility, those are really helpful. But those are what I would call tools in your entrepreneurial toolbox. Why those are not keys to having an abundant business is because there's a little bit of each one of those things that's a bit out of your control. Because what if you haven't been in the business 20 years? What if you've only been in it 3 years? Or what if you're really not that disciplined? Or what if you go to networking events and you don't seem to meet anybody? So those are all outside of your realm of control. I've developed through living my entrepreneurial life what I call the 3 keys to an abundant business. And all of them are in the realm of your control. And they are these 3: ask powerfully, give wholeheartedly, and receive graciously. And if you spend any part of your day developing those skills, asking more frequently, more specifically, looking around to see how you can contribute to others, and receiving, because we're terrible receivers. I don't care what anybody says. We all say, oh, I want $1 million. Guess what? The people that wanted $1 million have $1 million. I know you want it. I know we want it. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm saying there are people that already have their millions and billions or their 6 figures or whatever it is, but we are not practiced at receiving in our personal life or our business life. But all 3 of those things, if you can hone those skills. So if you want more referrals, start looking around to see where you can refer other people. If you want more money from a client, practice asking for more money. I often coach my clients into asking for more money than they were going to ask originally. And we always end up in a higher number. I always get it. Not every single time, but enough. And then receiving, being open to receiving the bounty that is available to us and being in recognition of it.
That's a powerful framework. Sometimes you don't think that you should ask for a referral just because you're taking your own personal frame of how you do things, that you don't particularly give referrals. So you assume that everybody doesn't give referrals. And therefore, for you to ask for a referral, you have that mental block or that mindset block to doing that. But I can see that as you also live that, being a person who refers, then you realize, oh, probably other people refer as well. And therefore, you feel more free to ask for a referral.
Yeah.
I'd love to know your journey that led you to all these uncoverings.
In New York City, fundraising is a really big thing at schools. If you want your kid to have an assistant teacher in the classroom, etc. Because my kids were in kindergarten and I was in New York City, it's a great school where they were, beautiful schools in New York City. Some of them are really incredible. I'm like, how can we help? I'm one of those people that steps up, and I'm the class parent and the VP of fundraising. I learned about the asking part because in order to get money, you have to ask. I grew up on a sheep farm and we had a cottage industry selling woolen product. And my mother took us from a very young age, like 9, 10, and stood me in front of people and said, hey, sell them the yarn or whatever it was. So I had a lot of sales experience already going into it. I didn't have the same mindset, the queasiness about asking people for money. I didn't have that. But I didn't realize that a lot of people did have it, that they were very uncomfortable with it. And I was like, why do I feel uncomfortable with it? And I realized because I'm just asking, everybody wants their children to have assistant teachers in the classroom. Everybody understood why it was so important. And then when I started thinking about it, I thought, what else goes with that? And then I had separate experience. The church where I was going there was a whole conversation about selling a building that we owned, but there was such a scarcity mindset. And I said, have we asked the congregants for money, for more money? Are we really ready to receive more money? And because there's so much historical conversation about money and it being the root of all evil and all that kind of stuff, I had so many opportunities to really practice asking. And I took it on. Let me see what I can get if I ask. And it just comes so naturally to me to ask for whatever it is. I just ask. I got rejected so many times when I was 10 trying to sell people. Nobody wanted to buy lamb sandwiches. Oh, it's lamb. Oh, I didn't like it. I was like, all right, whatever, keep moving. So I got really good. I didn't care about it. I didn't take it personally and not the way other people.
You covered all the things that people really struggle with in terms of selling, feeling like, gosh, what would the other people think? Or how does it look? Or I don't feel so good about needing to ask, and particularly asking for money. If you could please talk us through the common things with the scarcity mindset around selling and ways in which people can overcome that. Because I think that's a big one.
One of the things that really helped me in that early stages, I wasn't asking for myself. I was asking for the school. I was asking for the church. I wasn't saying, hey, could you give me $100? But through that, really got very good at it. The biggest problems that people have with selling is they think they are bothering people. And I like to use this analogy. Imagine that you have a sales conversation with somebody. In other words, that person has a problem and you can solve their problem. By the way, if it's not a good match, if you can't solve their problem, don't sell them. That helps you with at least 10% of the awkwardness you have. You have a good friend and they need a ride to the store. And they call you up and they say, hey, I have this problem. I need a ride to the store. And you say, sure, I got a car. I'll ride you to the store. That's what I do. On Fridays, I take people to the store. And they go, great, I'll get back to you. And you go, great, I'm here ready for you whenever you are. And we're all excited because I know I'm going to give them a ride to the store. Friday comes and goes and they don't take me up on my ride to the store. Now, your friend still needs to go to the store and you can still take them to the store. If it really was your friend or your mom or somebody, your sister or something like that, you would say, hey, mom, or hey, friend, I thought you needed a ride to the store. And they said, oh, you know what? I just don't want to do it this week. And you said, okay, let me know when you want to do it. But you wouldn't feel embarrassed or stupid or like you are bothering somebody because they said to you, I need a ride to the store. And so you ask them until they are ready to take your ride to the store. But we don't do that with sales. We go, oh, they don't want to buy, they don't want the ride to the store. So I'm not going to bother because if I ask them too many times. And what we're missing is this key component called they still have the problem that they called you about in the first place. They still didn't go to the store. They still didn't get what they needed. So they're suffering over there because they don't have the supplies they need from the store. And you're over here going, I don't want to bother them, really. And I cannot tell you how many times I have followed up with people for years. And my philosophy is they'll tell me if they don't want me to follow up with them anymore. But as long as they don't say that, I'm still going to follow up with them. I've done polls and people will tell me I do it once or twice and then I give up. But the fact is that most sales only happen after about 6 or 8 touches. You're only going to get that person a ride to the store after asking them 8 times. And nobody asks 8 times. But that's what it takes. So that's one example.
It's so key understanding that don't personalize it. It's not, oh my gosh, they don't really want my thing. They've got a life, they've got things going on. And just like you do, it takes 8 follow-ups?
More between 6 and 8 follow-ups to actually get an answer from people.
Yes. So that's a key takeaway. You started out working for your family or your family started a business. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that because I'm trying to understand how did you get to this path of being a business coach 25 years ago? I think this was before coaching was even a thing. So just interested in just your journey up to that point.
Yeah. The beautiful experience that I had as a child was when I was 5 years old, my mother and father, whose marriage was not doing well. This is 1969. Now you know how old I am. My mother decided she wanted to live in the country. She didn't want to live in the city anymore. Pittsburgh. She bought this 148-acre farm. And my father was going along with it because he thought it's a nice, beautiful place to live. And you get the neighbor farmers to do the farming cut the hay or whatever. But my mother wanted to run the farm. So she started buying sheep. And at one point, we had 300 sheep. I know all about sheep. A reason that people even go into entrepreneurship is because they realize that the rote way of doing things doesn't reap enough benefit. That would be true of a job, or let's say you're an accountant, but you don't want to be an accountant anymore, whatever that is. The traditional way of making money with sheep or cows is you sell in bulk, you sell the meat or you sell the wool, but you can't make very much money with that. So my mother figured out that if we made products, if we took the wool and made yarn or made sweaters or did other things with the wool, that we could make more money. But that required going out into the world and actually selling. So she dressed us up in colonial outfits. Yes, 12-year-old or 11. I have a picture to prove it. We're in colonial outfits. I have two older sisters, and we're spinning wool. I didn't realize how driven by survival my mother was. And a lot of entrepreneurs are driven by that. I can't pay my bills. I got to sell. So there's not a lot of freedom in that, but it does tend to drive people. But I wasn't really privy to the whole money part of it. I just knew that I had to sit in front of people and spin wool and talk about the virtues of wool and hope that they would buy the yarn. When I left college, I said, oh, I would love to have a store and I would sell these products that my mother had. Now, of course, I went from 5 years old to 22 years old at that point. And the thing is that I didn't know anything about running a business. I didn't know anything about it. I just thought, oh, you just open a store and people walk by and they buy your stuff. I knew nothing about marketing. I knew nothing about really anything. So it didn't do well. I was also not particularly motivated because it was her stuff, not my stuff. At that point, I was looking to have my own life. I was 22 or 3 years old. At that point, I didn't have any money and I needed to get a job. I moved to New York City and I started to learn about technology. Technology in the 90s was really much more impactful, meaning people didn't know anything. And because I had all those years of learning how to take a product and speak about it, I actually was very good at helping people to figure out how to work with technology. I was able to develop a lot of training programs. I got involved in the corporate world. Then I realized, that's a little bit boring. I would really rather be helping people, not working in computer systems. I had all those years of experience of working with small businesses. More than anything, I've always had a soft spot in my heart for a woman like my mother who had no experience, and for myself who had no experience in business, who struggled so much. And I truly believe that if I or she had a coach who had been through it, understood it, could help with all that strategy and all the concepts that I developed, that we would have been more successful at it. And so I love underdogs. I like to hang around the beginners of the crowd because I also am a singer. And a lot of people will say, oh, I don't sing. And I'm like, who told you that? My music teacher? Okay, let's sing anyway. So there's this way in which I really enjoy having people feel empowered and excited because people have dreams and they're not getting realized because they're convincing themselves that they're not realizable.
It's a beautiful journey and it's a beautiful mission that you're on. I know you often speak about how to create breakthrough results. And I think I may be wrong. You would tell me if I'm wrong or not. A lot of that has to do with mindset.
There's two circles of coaching styles. One is what I will say, not just men, but a male energy, which is very goal focused, very results driven. And then there's the more what you would call feminine energy, which is more like the law of attraction or, oh, I'm just going to float through life and abundance will flow to me. And both of those sides have a lot of merit to them. I absolutely have spent many hours setting goals and working towards achieving them. And I have also spent many hours noticing and coming more in tune with and experiencing abundance. My approach is that those two things, it's a bit of yin and yang. You need both. You really do. Because people say, oh, law of attraction doesn't work because you're just going to sit around and wait for stuff to come. Some people do that, by the way, and it works for them. But I believe in bringing together those two energies And that's why the whole structure of what I'm doing the system is, once I have that vision is, yep, we're going to go do the goals. I'm always holding people accountable. Accountability is huge. Very few people in this world are 100% accountable to themselves. Very few. And also, as we talked about, making those distinctions so we understand what those underlying beliefs. It's not therapy. This is just noticing how they impact us. Not to say people don't cry on some like calls or whatever or laugh, but really uncovering those, because you have to have the combination, in my opinion. You have to have the combination of those two things to really see results.
Listen, I'm going to take you back a little bit. You spoke about 3 things. I believe the first one was about the power of asking. If you could give us an idea of how to put these 3 things into action, that would be really great.
Yes, let's talk about sales for a moment. When you're on a sales call, by the way, we do not do enough sales calls. People think they're going to post on social media and people are just going to come to them. Social media is like window shopping. So we want people, once we have those connections and we're having a sales conversation with them, we're not direct. We don't ever say the words, so would you like to work with me? So are you ready to pay? When would you like to schedule that for? We leave it very much up to them. And Donald Miller will say, you need to tell people what to do. If you tell people what to do, they'll follow you. That's the realm around asking is, are you ready? And if not, where can I help you to get ready? What's in between you and getting ready? The way to get good at asking is to ask. I had a client once who would get on with me and he would say, yeah, last week I was practicing asking. I was at a restaurant and I didn't have salt on my table. So I leaned over to the person next to me and said, hey, do you mind if I borrow the salt? And that was like a major breakthrough for this man because he would have sat in silence or waited until the waiter came, whatever. He just asked, yeah, here's the salt. So practicing in so many little ways of asking, and you just create so much abundance from asking.
Nowadays, no one will actually say what they really think, or everyone is trying to tiptoe around. No one wants to be direct, like you said, and in things as simple as going to watch a movie.
Can we please go and watch this movie? This is what I would like. Can we do that movie?
And it's such a rare thing now. I don't know what's going on with the energy of people. Everyone is, what do you want? No, no, what do you want? No, no, I'll just follow what you want. It's almost like it's polite speak.
Yeah. That also relates to the receiving part, right? If somebody says, what would you like? But we don't want to be responsible for the entire group and whether or not they'll enjoy it. So part of the receiving is, or if we say, you know what, I'd really like to get sushi tonight. When people say yes, okay, let's get sushi. Sometimes resistance comes up like, oh, now I made the decision for the whole group. And what if nobody else likes it? It takes away from our enjoyment of the activity because we're not receiving the joy that everybody agreed, sushi, whether they want it or not. So we sit there the whole time going, I hope Mary Lou isn't mad that we're having sushi instead of Italian, for example.
Overthinking. The first one is the power of asking powerfully. The second one is
Give wholeheartedly.
giving wholeheartedly. In a business context,
Referrals are a great example. You would like more clients and you'd like referrals. The asking powerfully part would be to go ahead and ask other people for referrals. But if you're feeling uncomfortable, so you can start with any of these. I set it up like they're steps, but actually you could do any of them at any time. Giving wholeheartedly will be asking people, who can I refer to you? Who are you looking for? By the way, networking events are really great for that because you don't even know these people. So you can ask and you can refer. There's BNI networking groups. I don't know if you're familiar with the BNI groups, but they're based on this whole concept of referrals. And so you are constantly giving referrals. The thing about giving wholeheartedly is that when you give, you actually create more of it in the world. There's more referrals for everybody. Some people give, they tithe, they give money. It's very deliberately. And the more they give, the more they receive. Time is a tough one because everybody's, I don't have time for myself. How can I have time for anything else? But if you volunteer your time, you will receive more time because you're creating more of it in the universe.
and I think the last one you said was
Receive graciously.
receive graciously. And we touched on that a little bit. It's so hard in people don't want to receive. People can't even receive compliments. What more? You look great now, this old thing.
Oh, one little hint with that, the graciously part is the gratitude, because it does make people uncomfortable when they're told, oh, you look great today, or whatever that is. As I said, I'm a singer. And so people will often compliment my singing. I play bluegrass music in New York City. If anybody's listening and lives in New York and wants to do bluegrass, that's what I do. So people will often compliment a song that I've done or my singing. And I've trained myself because, of course, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm not that good. Why do you call me? I've trained myself to say, thank you. I really appreciate that. It brings the gratitude into my heart. Thank you. I'm there. I'm receiving. I created joy for this person. Why would somebody tell me they enjoyed listening to my singing or enjoyed a webinar or whatever I did if it wasn't authentic for them? What are they going to gain from doing that? So if I push back on that, then and say, oh, I wasn't breathing right, or I forgot the words. Like, that's what we do. We minimize it. And I tell you what, it's really tiring to do that kind of thing. When you try to give somebody a compliment or give a gift and they won't receive it, it's hard. You're shutting off my energy, my generosity. And so thank you. I really appreciate that. That's a really great phrase to just practice and then just shut up. Stop talking. Just be like, bite your tongue. Don't say anything after that.
Thank you so much. I think this inner work, you said entrepreneurship is
Personal development workshop you're ever going to do.
the best personal development workshop you're ever going to do. Absolutely great. What would you like them to walk away with? Liz Wolfe, business coach, and this is her message.
My message is around abundance. There's plenty for everyone, including me. And if we can incorporate that, so there's plenty for everyone, including me. There's 8 billion people on this planet. There are people that want to purchase your products and services. They need your help. They're waiting for you to help them to solve their problem. And by you being all modest and stuff, it doesn't help them at all. There's plenty for everyone, including me. That means I get to be included in that circle of abundance, and I'm bringing other people into it as well.
There's a place for you in the market. You need it in the market. Participate fully. And remember the abundance mindset from Liz Wolfe. Thank you so much, Liz, for your time, your generosity. We've gone way over. I thank you so much for all that you've taught us. The best personal development you're ever going to get is right here in entrepreneurship. To our audience, please go to Liz Wolfe. That's Wolfe with an E. LizWolfeCoaching.com/sell. She has something for you there to help you with that. And Liz, where can people connect with you?
If you are thinking about starting a business or you're feeling stuck in any way at any stage of your business, you can go to my website, LizWolfeCoaching.com/contact, and just set up a time to speak with me. I'm available. But I know that's a very big ask for people who don't even know me. So thank you for listening. Yes, you can get that free download. I also have a quiz on my website as well. And I offer a lot of free resources there. So take advantage of it for sure and reach out to me at any time.
Wonderful. Remember, Liz taught you to ask powerfully. So make those asks. Thank you, Liz.